What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Dead on Dave. And check it out, guys. Let's get right into it. WWE Payback was last night, and while I did enjoy a good majority of the show, I, along with many other people, had a problem with one match in particular, and that was the women's title match between Natalya and Charlotte. Now, last night, I let everybody know during my copious review, which you can check out the link for right here, the card, I should say, right there. I had a problem with the match itself. I did not feel like this match was up to snuff for these two women who we've seen have so many good matches in the past. And then with the added presence of Bret Hart and Ric Flair, it should have been bigger. We've seen this match before. We've seen these things before, and it's worked very well. Last night, it didn't for many reasons. And then the ending, which I did not criticize that much because I felt there were bigger problems in this match than just the ending. Then the ending happened with the Chicago screw job, which infuriated and enraged many a wrestling smart, me included. Now that, I've had some time to get over just how much I didn't like the match. And now I really focus on how much I don't like this ending. It's stupid, it's nonsensical, and it also makes the WWE come off as, heart of stone, never forgetting, always reminding, just insensitive dicks. Because they're once again hearkening back to one of the most embarrassing moments in wrestling history in a lot of ways, if you believe it's real. Some people still believe it's a work, but that's another conversation for another day. And of course, I'm talking about the Montreal screw job with Bret Hart. Right there, you could see him in the picture. He was there last night, and he was there reacting to Charles Robinson ringing the bell as Charlotte put Natalya in the sharpshooter. Very much the exact same scene without Vince McMahon, of course, as the famous Montreal screw job between him and Shawn Michaels some 20 years ago almost. Both instances have one thing in common. We know the Montreal screw job was, at least in my opinion, was a real thing. It was not just a worked segment. This one obviously was, but they do have one thing in common. Both are Bret's fault. Both were 100% Bret's fault for happening. Look, the Montreal Screwjob we talked about ad nauseum. Everybody knows what happened. He didn't want to drop the belt in Canada, so they decided to do business their way. And I don't blame them for that. Bret was being very difficult at the time, even though he still to this day will not really take any fault in the situation, because that's just how Bret is. Bret lives in Bret world. Bret Hart doesn't take the high road or the low road. He takes the Bret road. He's like Prince. He's lived in Bret world for so long, he doesn't know how to be any other way. Bret sees things not black or white. He sees things pink. He sees things Bret. That is how Bret is. I don't know him personally. I've never met him. But based off the information that I know, watching interviews, very personal interviews with him that he's had, not just the regular standard shoot interviews, but very personal interviews, sit down, really talking to the man, gathering who he is. Who he is Bret Hart. He's consummate Bret Hart all the time. He has no other mode. Who you see is truly who he is, almost not even that turned up most of the time. Yeah, he did have a more nefarious angle at one time, but even now, we know who Bret is. We see who Bret is. And where is this all coming from? Why is the Chicago Screwjob Bret Hart's fault? Real simple. Bret Hart, leading up to this match, did countless interviews talking about how he did not want to be at Payback. He had no interest in being in Payback. He's only there for Natalya because she asked him and all this stuff. And he goes on to blast the WWE for things that really had more of a bearing a few years ago. It seems like he's really not in tune with the current product. Continues to blast Triple H, the one of the main guys in charge right now. He's hammering all these things that really at his age, beating cancer and all the things that he's done, you would figure he would let go, but he doesn't let him go. He continues to bring him up. And if it was just him that he had to worry about, if it didn't affect anybody else, I would be saying, hey, fuck it, Go do your thing. It doesn't affect anybody else. But here's the thing. This is a one-off situation. I don't know if we're going to see Bret again tonight, Monday night. We might. But even if we do, this is not about Bret Hart. And unfortunately, his comments made it about Bret Hart because this is about Natalya. This is one of Natalya's probably last chances to have a run, to have a serious feud in the women's division. It's changing. The young girls are coming in. She's not getting any younger. Plus, she's got a husband who is foobar to the ninth power, and he's going to become a priority the older they get. So, for Bret Hart to go into business for himself, which is something the old-timers, the traditionalists like Bret don't like, Bret Hart hates these things. He admonishes them. But what he did was he went into business for himself. He made the situation about him, and he basically poked and prodded WWE to the point where they decided to retaliate. I don't feel that this was the plan all along, to make Charles Robinson, Lil Nate, an angle people have forgotten about. And now they're going to run with this Charles Robinson thing where Charles Robinson's going to be like, I was Lil Nate and all this. Because even JBL made a reference to it after. And nobody knows what the hell he's talking about. Nobody knows who Lil Nate was. Nobody cares. It's Oscar Robinson. Charles Robinson, not Oscar Robinson. That was a basketball player. Charles Robinson. Nobody cares about Charles Robinson. And now he's going to be a part of Oscar Robinson. He's shooting threes and shit. Yeah, what are you going to do? Nobody cares about Charles Robinson. And now he's going to become a focal point more than likely because they're going to try to explain why he did what he did. Who cares? They have shit on this angle and effectively ruined it. And not even they, he. And it's because of the actions of Bret Hart. Natalya did not do anything wrong in this situation. She asked for Bret to come, and Bret could have just came. And then after the match, he could have said everything. He said, yeah, I didn't really want to be there. You know, I had problems with this and that and this and this and this and this. And Triple H is still a dick and everything else that he wants to say. He could have done it after Payback. And it had no repercussions for Natalya. But because he went on before Payback and said all the things that he did, then knowing he was going to be there at Payback for a perfect opportunity for the WWE to stick it in and break it off one more time. Now, whether or not you condone those actions, that's irrelevant. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Here's the thing. Being a part of WWE for as long as Bret was and you know, being in the universe and knowing how things work, and not just in the WWE, by the way. They're not the villains here. The wrestling industry, the circus industry, anything like this. If you bite the hand that feeds you, if you make fun of the people who are putting you in the position to be in front of thousands of people, repercussions are going to come. They're going to fuck with you. And that's what happened last night. Natalya got embarrassed. She probably lost her push. And all of this angle is completely forgettable and terrible because of Bret Hart. I firmly believe that. Maybe I have no way of knowing that the WWE even heard the interview. But come on. The preponderance of evidence is probably saying this. This happened because of Bret's interviews, because of the things that Bret said, because Bret was very inflammatory, he was very derogatory, and he, most importantly, he made it very clear that he didn't give a fuck about this angle. He didn't care about the company, he didn't care about the angle, he only cared about Natalya, and he made it abundantly clear, while ripping the higher-ups in the company. So, even if he doesn't care about it, what does he care? He's 60 years old, whatever he is. He beat cancer. He's Bret Hart. At the end of the day, he is Bret Hart. He will be Bret Hart to the end of his life. Nobody can take that away from him. But Natalya is not Bret Hart. Natalya is Natalya who has struggled and struggled and struggled. And she finally gets a spot. And I feel Bret screwed her out of it. I feel Bret's actions really did screw her here. And it's unfortunate. And I understand this is not going to be a popular video, but that's completely fine. I would like to hear the anti-arguments and not just WWE are assholes, because that's not a good argument. Because we know that that's true to a point. But we also know that there was provocation here. And I understand that a lot of people who are going to respond to this video, You don't believe in consequences. You believe that we live in a world where you should be able, that you're entitled to say whatever you like without the fear of consequence, without the fear of repercussion. That is insane. That is insane. If you kick a hornet's nest, you're gonna get stung. Just the reality of life, not even in human situation, just in the big, if the stove's on, you decide to touch it, you're gonna burn your hand. That's just the way it is. You don't piss off people. I just don't understand the reasoning for saying the things that he said at the time that he said them. Going into payback, why say it then? It makes no sense to me. Something that could have been said a little bit later on. Well, Bret has every right to say what he believes. Yes, he absolutely does. But you know what? Just because you can say something doesn't mean that you always should, especially when it'll affect the people around you. I am a firm believer in people being who they want to be whenever they want to be it, as long as it doesn't affect the people that you love, and that's the problem here. So Chicago ScrewJob, just like the Montreal ScrewJob, it is all because of the actions, choices, and decisions of Bret the Hitman Hart. And it's all because Bret is Bret. It doesn't get any more simple than that. Bret lives in Bret world. And I'm sure that this will further distance myself from any chance of ever talking to the man, and that's completely fine. If that's the way that I'd love to talk to him, because I'd like to know. I'd probably puss out and just be like, Bret, you're awesome. But because I'm a big fat vagina. But, you know, that's okay. Look, this is just my opinion on the situation, and I do feel that this could have been avoided, or at least lessened. I don't think that this would have happened had Bret not ran his mouth the way he did. And there it is. So thank you guys very much for sitting through the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and we'll see you next time right here on Dead on Day Productions later tonight, as a matter of fact, right after Monday Night Raw for your live copious review. Also check out my good buddy XLT Live Podcast over at XLT Live Podcast. Too Tall does his thing on YouTube. You can find his information right in the description box below. He'll be doing a live reaction show for Monday Night Raw. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you at the review, the copious review right after, all right? Take it easy, and as always, if you don't have talent, have talented friends. We'll see you next time. Peace.